So today we're going to be testing out the Tuttio Adria 52 volt dual motor electric bike, and this has to be one of the most budget friendly dual motor bikes currently as of me filming this video. Right now this thing's on sale for just over $1,200 with my coupon code, which I'll put down below in the description, a link to it and the coupon code if you guys are interested in picking one of these up after watching this. But this thing has a 52 volt 25 amp hour battery, so 1,277.5 watt hours of capacity, dual motors, rated for around 40 miles per hour, and for only 1,200 bucks. That's pretty crazy. Oh yeah, and the seat's pretty comfortable too. I love the design of the seat, really nice and comfortable there. And this thing also has a few other nice features for the price, but before we get into that, I do want to mention that they did send this to me for testing and review. But like I said, there'll be links down below. Make sure you watch the video first to see if this bike's right for you. And without further ado, let's get into it, guys. So another nice feature is it does have an adjustable stem here. I'm kind of a short rider, so I was able to adjust that up, which brought the handlebars up and back some, so less reach for me. I don't have to lean over as far. It has a nice big bright headlight on the front. You can see there it's daylight and you can still see the beam shining. That also has a horn in it. Dual suspension. Now the suspension's not the greatest. It's just a cheap suspension, non-adjustable in the rear and in the front. There is a lockout, so not the greatest suspension, but to be honest guys, it's probably all most people are gonna need for casual riding. Has a nice bright tail light in the rear with a brake light. It also comes with a set of pannier bags, but be careful using these because I noticed there's no hard liner in the bag and it tends to want to go into the rear wheel depending on what you have in the bag. So be cautious of that. You don't want to get this thing stuck in the spokes and cause you to crash. Most of the time that's an extra purchase and it came with this bike, so that's a nice touch as well. But as you see here, Adria 26, this does have the 26 by 4.0 inch fat tires on both the front and the rear. Dual motors, 5,000 watt peak is what they rate them for combined. Now you can do just rear motor, you could do both motors, but you cannot do just front motor, which is fine with me. And online it says the rear motor's for more power and then both motors are for rougher terrain and steeper hills. But to be honest, if you want the most power, keep it in dual motor mode. But if you're cruising on flat level ground, you might want to just go just to the rear motor to save you a little bit of juice. It has a 7-speed thumb shifter with a Shimano tourney derailleur and a 14 to 28 freewheel in the rear. And we'll test this out and see how it is to pedal the high speeds. We'll see if that 14 tooth cog is small enough to keep up with pedaling. Probably not if I can get it up to 40 miles an hour, but we'll find out. Has a half grip throttle up here on the handlebars. On the other side, you have your power button, your information button, to control your PAS levels up and down. This headlight button dims your display when you hit it because this button here turns your headlight on and off. So you have two separate controls there, one to dim your display, one to turn your headlight on, which is nice because if you don't want your display to dim, you can still turn your headlight on without that dimming, which is pretty nice. It has a set of hydraulic disc brakes made by DY Island or Disland, however you call it, coming down to 180 millimeter rotors on both the rear as well as the front of the bike. Comes with a rear rack that mounts to the outside of the frame here and up top, and you can get this bike in a few different colors. I think this one currently is just under $1,200 with my coupon code as of me filming this, but check out the link down below. It'll take you to the website, show you all the different colors and all the specs about the bike. But this bike has been out for a while, guys, so you may have already seen some videos about it. But when the price dropped, this was originally right around $1,400 or a little bit more than that. And at $1,200 now, they asked me if I wanted to test it out and review it. And I said absolutely, because I figured it seemed like a pretty good deal for the money. But let's hop on it and see what it can do up some hills. I'm pretty limited on riding because it's supposed to get a pretty bad thunderstorm here in about the next 45 minutes. And there's been some tornadoes and things coming through here the last few weeks. This weather's been nasty here. So we're gonna see what we can do around here and hope you guys enjoyed. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe so you can see more. If you have any questions, put them down below in the comments and I try to answer them all. Let's get into it. Oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to mention real quick is when you get this bike, it comes locked down to only go about 15 to 18 miles per hour according to my testing. It was driving me nuts. Couldn't figure out how to get it to go faster because it's not in the manual. All you have to do is when the bike's turned off, you have to hold both brake levers in, have to hold the throttle full throttle, and then turn the bike on. Keep pushing that power button down until this display cycles up and then back down. You'll see an E4 error code. Then you can release the power button and then that'll unlock your speed and give you max speed. If you lend this bike out to somebody and don't want them flying around, you could turn the speed down that way as well. Brakes seem to work pretty good. All right, here we go. Throttle only on the hill test. Oh man, whew. It went right up it, guys. That was way easier than I thought. Once you get going, this thing really goes pretty good when you get it up to speed in dual motor mode. But let's try to start at the bottom because it doesn't feel like it has tons of power pulling out from a start. We'll start right at the bottom and see if we can still come up the hill in dual motor mode. All right, here we go. Dead stop from the bottom. Front wheel spinning. Oh yeah, still right up it, no problem, starting from the bottom. Let's just start from here. This is kind of mid-hill, but I'm gonna start sideways here. Oh yeah. Spinning that front wheel all over the place. So yeah, this thing has tons of power in dual motor mode. Let's go ahead and put it into single motor mode and see what kind of power we have now. So we're gonna start at this post. I normally never start at this post on this test. I usually always start back at that second post. But let's start from here and try it in just rear motor mode. No, definitely not. Let's start where I normally start from now. All right, starting at the second post. All right, so right at the top. So this is about where typically about 100 Newton meter torque motor would get me. A 750 watt bike usually gets me to that point. Every once in a while I'll get a bike that'll take me up over that crest, like the Magicycle. But with dual motor mode, this thing has 210 Newton meters of torque and it rips right up this, no problem, in dual motor mode. So nothing to worry about there with the dual motors as far as getting up hills. Now it does seem when you're in dual motor mode, it seems like the front wheel has way more power than the rear. It almost doesn't even seem like the rear wheel will spin when you're in dual motor mode. So definitely a lot more power coming from that front in dual motor mode. And to switch it, all you need to do is tap this center power button twice. And you can see the little display here, how both wheels are flashing. That's dual motor mode. You tap the center button down twice, and that puts you in single motor rear motor only, just for the rear wheel. Then do the same thing again, and that takes you back to dual motor mode. All right, now we're just cruising in PAS 1. We're headed to the hill that I usually go up in all my electric bicycle videos to show you guys kind of a comparison with other bikes, how it handles that hill. But I want you to notice that PAS level 1 is about 14 to 15 miles an hour when you have the speed unlocked. Now, if you want to go slower in 1, you can always relock it, and then 1 is very slow if you needed a slower speed for the bike trail or around town. And you might be able to go in the settings and adjust the settings individually or turn the max speed down in there. Haven't really played around with it yet. If I do, maybe I'll make another video for that to show you guys how to do it. So stick around if you want to see that. All right, here we go. Throttle only, PAS 5, dual motor mode. Let's see what kind of speed we can hit going up this. Oh yeah, very nice. 24 GPS, 25 display. Oh yeah, this bike's fast, guys, especially for the price. 37, 38 on display, 35 GPS, 36 GPS, 37. So 37 miles an hour, and that was slight uphill, throttle only, dual motor mode on GPS. So yeah, guys, I have no doubt that this thing will hit right around 40 miles an hour. With me being 170 pounds, somewhere around 170 to 175 pounds is what I currently weigh. But this thing rips up these hills, no problem whatsoever. We're gonna hit another long hill and just pretty much do throttle. It's not a really, really steep hill, but it's a long one. We'll see how it does up that. Brakes seem really nice. They're not even worn in yet, but I have no squeaks or squeals. Stopping power seems pretty decent. Very nice. And I just felt some raindrops. Probably gonna have to head back towards home. One thing I do want to show you though, on these brakes, if your brake pull is too far, if this is hitting closer to your hand grip and you want it to catch further out, just adjust this screw here, and that's all you need to do to adjust your brakes in. It'll squeeze that caliper more, and then your brake pull will be further out. Very easy to adjust. Actually, let's just go back up the same hill that we came down. Whew, got a little bit of spin there. There was some loose gravel. Man, this bike is ripping pretty good, guys. Throttle only up this hill. 27, 26 GPS. Yeah, it's starting to rain. I'm gonna head back home. I don't feel like getting soaked, guys. Especially with these crazy downpours and tornadoes that's been rolling through here. Still throttle only. Actually, let's see how we are pedaling here at max speed. 28. Yeah, about running out of pedal right now. So anything over about 28, you're gonna wanna probably just throttle. Would have been nice to see an 11-tooth freewheel on the rear, but that's something that could be easily upgraded for around 30, maybe 50 bucks if you do it yourself by the time you buy the tool and the freewheel. So easily upgradable, but would have been nice to see if they would have had that on there from the factory. Let's just put it in rear motor mode. Hit some bumps. Pretty nice, guys. Not bad at all. Performance-wise, for the money, definitely impressing me. There is a few things that would have been nice to see, though. Let me just show you real quick. Actually, a neighbor of mine bought one of these bikes last year, and his friend also bought one. He's having a few issues with his. I mean, he rides it hard, though, but I don't know what he did, but I think the rear motor came loose and twirled and curled up the rear wire for that motor. So make sure your motor's tight. Would have been nice to see, even though these have torque washers, it would have been nice to see a torque arm coming up to one of these bolts there to prevent that rear axle from twisting. And in fact, that needs added to the Tuttio ICT as well to prevent that rear wheel from twisting in the frame, because these are aluminum frames, and especially in the ICT, it's pretty high torque, and sometimes they'll tend to twist, especially if your bolts get just a little bit loose. So always nice to see like a torque arm to prevent that from happening. So Tuttio, be a nice upgrade in the future if you would add that. And one other thing I noticed is these wires coming out of the bottom of the controller housing here. The controller sits in here. There's one hole that all the wires come out, and it just seems a little bit tight going up through there as far as the wires being bent, resting against that plastic housing. And I'm afraid over time, with this rear swing arm going up and down and moving that wire, that it might put a hole or wear something in that wire from going through that hole and touching that plastic. So it would have been nice to see maybe a protective sleeve coming through that plastic first, and then the wires. I mean, the wires are protected, they are coated, but it would have been nice to see maybe the hole being a little bit bigger, maybe a little more slack there, or some more protection around those wires. You may never have a problem with it, but I don't know. In my opinion, it would be nice to maybe have a little bit of more cushion there. But yeah, guys, overall, man, really nice for the money, especially for the sell price now of just under $1,200 with my coupon code for this model, and just a hair more, I think $20 more for some of the other colors. Hopefully that's still the deal by the time I get this video posted, but that's gonna be about it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Maybe we'll do some more testing with it later on. So stick around and you might see that. Thanks for watching, guys. See you around on the next one.